The morning sun cast long shadows across the dusty training compound in Virginia Beach as Master Chief gathered his elite SEAL team for their final mission briefing. The air crackled with tension as 12 of the Navy's most lethal operators stood in formation, their eyes fixed on the tactical display showing satellite images of a compound deep in hostile territory. "This is Operation Silent Thunder," began, his weathered face serious. "High-value target, maximum security, zero margin for error." The mission was unlike anything they had encountered before. Intelligence indicated that a notorious arms dealer had fortified himself in a mountainous region, surrounded by heavily armed militants and sophisticated surveillance systems. What made this operation particularly challenging was the terrain. The target compound sat atop a rocky outcropping, accessible only through a narrow valley that offered little cover. Traditional assault tactics would be suicide. They needed precision, patience, and most importantly, they needed their guardian angel watching from above. For the past 8 months, the team had been working with what they believed was the most skilled sniper they had ever encountered. The mysterious Marksman operated from concealed positions, sometimes over a mile away, providing overwatch and eliminating threats with surgical precision. In previous operations across 3 different theaters, this sniper had taken impossible shots that had saved their lives countless times. The team knew their guardian by only Ghost 6. Radio communications were brief and professional. When Ghost 6 spoke, it was usually to report wind conditions, range estimates, or the chilling phrase, "target down," that meant another threat had been neutralized. The voice was calm, controlled, transmitted through encrypted channels with audio distortion that made identification impossible. Lieutenant Commander Jake Reaper, the team's second-in-command, had tried numerous times to catch a glimpse of their mysterious protector. During extraction procedures, he would scan the surrounding terrain with his scope, searching for muzzle flashes or movement. But Ghost 6 was exactly that, a phantom who appeared and disappeared without a trace, leaving only the evidence of impossible shots and saved lives. Sergeant First Class Mike "Tank" Williams, the team's heavy weapons specialist, had developed an almost superstitious respect for their unseen guardian. "That shooter's got eyes like a hawk and hands steady as steel," he would tell new team members. "I've seen Ghost 6 thread the needle between our own guys to take out hostiles. Never seen anything like it." The team had developed their own theories about Ghost 6's identity. Some believed it was a legendary Marine sniper who had gone dark after a classified operation. Others thought it might be a CIA contractor with Special Activities Division. A few suspected it was one of the Army's Delta Force operators on loan, but none of their guesses came close to the truth. What they didn't know was that Ghost 6 was Staff Sergeant, a 28-year-old former Marine scout sniper who had been handpicked for a classified Navy program that embedded elite marksmen with SEAL teams. The program was so secret that even the SEALs themselves weren't told the true identity of their Overwatch support. Had earned her place through extraordinary skill and uncompromising dedication. Born in a small Texas border town, she had learned to shoot on her grandfather's ranch, hunting deer and wild boar in the harsh brush country. Her grandfather, a Korean War veteran, had taught her that shooting wasn't just about marksmanship. It was about patience, reading the environment, and understanding the psychology of both predator and prey. When she enlisted in the Marines at 18, her natural talent was immediately recognized. She excelled in every aspect of sniper training, breaking several range records and demonstrating an almost supernatural ability to judge wind, distance, and trajectory. But her greatest asset wasn't her technical skill, it was her mental fortitude. Could lie motionless in uncomfortable positions for hours, controlling her breathing and heart rate while waiting for the perfect shot. The decision to conceal her identity from the SEAL team wasn't made lightly. Military hierarchy and tradition made it unlikely that even elite special operations units would fully trust a female sniper in combat situations. The Navy's solution was elegant and practical. Let her work prove itself before revealing her identity. For 8 months had been the team's invisible guardian. She studied each operator's movement patterns, learned their tactical preferences, and anticipated their needs. She knew that Reaper favored aggressive flanking maneuvers that required precise covering fire. She understood that Tank's approach was direct and powerful, but sometimes left him exposed to counter-sniper fire. She had memorized each man's voice, call signs, and the subtle tells that indicated when they were under stress. From her concealed positions, had watched these warriors operate with deadly efficiency. She had seen their courage under fire, their loyalty to each other, and their unwavering commitment to the mission. In many ways, she knew them better than they knew themselves. But they knew nothing about her except that when the chips were down, Ghost 6 never missed. The upcoming operation would be different. Intelligence reports indicated heavy sniper activity around the target compound. The enemy had recruited experienced marksmen from various conflicts, creating a deadly Overwatch network of their own. Would be facing counter-snipers who were skilled, patient, and fighting on familiar terrain. As the team prepared their equipment, was already studying topographical maps and satellite imagery from her separate briefing location. She identified potential hide sites, calculated ranges and angles, and planned multiple escape routes. The mission would require her to be closer to the action than ever before, increasing the chances that her position might be compromised. The night before deployment, stood alone on the observation deck of the base, looking out over the dark ocean. Tomorrow would change everything. She had a feeling that this mission would finally reveal her identity to the team she had protected for so long. The question was whether they would accept her as one of their own, or whether 8 months of trust and mutual respect would crumble when they discovered the truth about Ghost 6. The helicopter blades chopped through the pre-dawn darkness as the SEAL team flew toward their insertion point. Sat in a separate aircraft 30 minutes ahead of them, her custom rifle secured beside her, along with enough supplies to remain hidden for 72 hours if necessary. The mission timeline was tight. The team would have a narrow window to breach the compound before enemy reinforcements arrived. Its landing zone was a rocky ledge 2 miles from the target, offering clear to multiple approach routes. As her helicopter disappeared into the darkness, she was alone with the mountain wind and the weight of responsibility. 12 lives depended on her ability to see threats before they materialized and eliminate them with single, perfect shots. Moving through the darkness with practiced silence, located her primary hide site, a natural depression between 2 large boulders that provided concealment while allowing her to observe the target compound through her scope. She spent an hour carefully arranging camouflage and setting up her equipment, transforming herself into just another shadow on the mountainside. Through her night vision scope, studied the compound's defenses. The intelligence reports had been accurate. She counted at least 6 sniper positions around the perimeter, each manned by figures who moved with the careful precision of experienced marksmen. These weren't amateur militants. They were professionals who understood the deadly game of hunter versus hunter. As dawn approached, established radio contact with the approaching SEAL team. "Ghost 6 in position," she transmitted in her digitally disguised voice. "Multiple hostile snipers confirmed. I count 6 positions, possibly more." Reaper's voice crackled through her earpiece. "Copy that, Ghost 6. We're beginning our approach. Keep us covered." Watched through her scope as the SEAL team moved through the valley like deadly spirits. Their movement was poetry in motion, each man covering specific sectors, communicating with hand signals, flowing around obstacles with the fluid coordination that came from years of training together. She felt a surge of pride watching them work, knowing that she had played a part in keeping them alive through previous missions. The first shot came from an enemy sniper positioned on the compound's eastern wall. Saw the muzzle flash a split second before the bullet struck the rock near Tank's position. Without hesitation, she adjusted her aim and fired. The enemy marksman dropped before he could chamber another round. "Hostile sniper down, eastern position," reported calmly, already scanning for the next threat. The enemy response was immediate and coordinated. 3 more snipers opened fire simultaneously, forcing the SEAL team to take cover behind scattered boulders. Found herself in the deadliest game of cat and mouse she had ever experienced. Each time she fired, she had to immediately relocate before return fire shattered the rocks around her position. Reaper's voice was tight with stress. "Ghost 6 were pinned down, need those Overwatch positions cleared." Moved to her secondary position, a narrow crevice that offered a different angle on the compound. Through her scope, she spotted a sniper on the building's roof, carefully tracking one of the SEALs through his own scope. Controlled her breathing, calculated the wind drift, and fired. The hostile sniper pitched forward, his rifle clattering down the sloped roof. But the enemy marksmen were learning her patterns. As prepared to move again, a bullet whined past her ear so close she could feel the air displacement. One of the remaining snipers had spotted her muzzle flash and was bracketing her position with increasingly accurate fire. The situation deteriorated rapidly. counted at least 4 enemy snipers still active, and they were beginning to coordinate their fire. The SEAL team was trapped in the kill zone with limited cover. Worse, could see armed militants beginning to move toward the team's flanks, setting up for a devastating crossfire. Made a decision that went against every rule of sniper warfare. Instead of maintaining her concealed overwatch position, she grabbed her rifle and began moving closer to the compound. She needed better angles and shorter ranges to eliminate multiple targets quickly. Sprinting across open ground while enemy bullets searched for her, reached a cluster of rocks only 800 meters from the compound. The position was dangerously exposed, but offered clear shots at 3 of the remaining sniper positions. She had perhaps 30 seconds before the enemy marksman triangulated her location. Training took over. Time seemed to slow as she acquired her first target, controlled her breathing, and fired. The enemy sniper dropped. Without pause, she worked the bolt of her rifle and shifted to the second target. Another shot, another confirmed kill. The third sniper was already adjusting his aim toward her position whence bullet found him. But her aggressive movement had consequences. The remaining enemy marksman had a clear shot at her position and could see the black bore of his rifle centered on her location through her scope. For a frozen moment, 2 snipers stared at each other across 800 meters of rocky terrain, each knowing that only one would survive the next few seconds. Fired first, but in her haste, the shot went slightly wide. She saw the enemy sniper's rifle buck as he returned fire. The bullet struck the rock inches from her head, showering her with stone fragments that cut her face and temporarily blurred her vision. Through the chaos, she heard Reaper's voice. "Ghost 6, report, we heard that impact." Wiped blood from her eyes and realigned her scope. The enemy sniper was working his bolt, preparing for a follow-up shot that would certainly kill her. Forced herself to slow down, control her breathing despite the adrenaline flooding her system, and fire the perfect shot that had saved the team so many times before. The enemy marksman collapsed across his rifle. Silence descended over the compound, except for the sound of ragged breathing and the distant sound of the SEAL team moving toward their objective. "All hostile snipers down," reported, surprised by how shaky her voice sounded. "You're clear to advance." But the mission was far from over. As the SEAL team breached the compound's outer defenses, spotted something that made her blood freeze. A group of militants was moving through a concealed tunnel system, preparing to emerge behind the team's position. The SEALs were walking into an ambush that would annihilate them. Its radio was damaged from the near miss, reducing her to short-range communication only. She couldn't warn the team from her current position. Without hesitation, she abandoned her sniper rifle and began running toward the compound, pulling her sidearm as she moved. What happened next would shatter every assumption the SEAL team had about their mysterious guardian and reveal the truth that had been hidden for 8 months of shared combat. Was about to step out of the shadows and into the light, regardless of the consequences. Sprinted across the rocky terrain, her damaged radio crackling with static as she tried desperately to warn the team about the ambush. She could see the militants emerging from the hidden tunnel 50 meters behind where the SEALs were advancing through the compound's main building. In seconds, 12 of the Navy's elite would be caught in a devastating crossfire with nowhere to run. Without her sniper rifle, had only her sidearm and the element of surprise. She positioned herself on a small ridge overlooking the militants' position and opened fire with her pistol. Her shots weren't intended to eliminate all the threats. That would be impossible at this range with a handgun. Instead, she was buying time and drawing attention away from the SEAL team. The militants turned towards position, confused by this unexpected attack from their flank. Their momentary hesitation was exactly what the SEAL team needed. Reaper heard the gunfire and immediately understood the tactical situation. He spun his team around, and they engaged the militants with the lethal efficiency that made them legends. But's position was now completely exposed. She had sacrificed concealment and cover to save the team, and enemy fire was converging on her location. Bullets struck the rocks around her as she scrambled for better cover, but there was nowhere to go. She was trapped on open ground with hostiles on 3 sides. Through the chaos of the firefight, heard Tank's voice booming across the compound. "Covering fire for Ghost 6. The big SEAL had spotted her position and was laying down suppressive fire that forced several militants to keep their heads down. Used the momentary respite to bound toward a low stone wall, but she stumbled as a bullet grazed her leg. She hit the ground hard, her helmet flying off and her long black hair spilling across her shoulders. For the first time in 8 months, was visible to the team she had protected from the shadows. The reaction was immediate and stunned. Reaper's voice cut through the radio chatter. "Ghost 6 is, that's a woman." Ignored the shocked exclamations and focused on survival. She reached the stone wall just as several militants rounded the corner, their weapons raised. Training and instinct took over as engaged them at close range with her sidearm, dropping 2 before the others scattered for cover. But the situation was deteriorating rapidly. More militants were pouring out of the compound's buildings, and ammunition was running low. She could hear the SEAL team fighting their way toward her position, but they were still pinned down by heavy resistance. That's when Sergeant Williams made a decision that would define the next phase of the operation. The massive SEAL broke from his covered position and charged directly towards location, his machine gun chattering as he advanced. "Nobody leaves Ghost 6 behind," he roared, his voice carrying over the gunfire. One by one, the other team members began moving to support's position. These men, who had followed orders and protocol religiously for years, were now abandoning their tactical positions to rescue a teammate they had never actually met face to face. Reaper coordinated the movement while engaging targets with his rifle. "Converge on Ghost 6's position, she's family." The word family hit like a physical blow. Despite her secret identity, despite the deception that had been necessary for operational security, these warriors considered her one of their own. The trust she had feared losing was stronger than she had ever imagined. Found herself fighting alongside Tank as he reached her position. The big SEAL grinned at her through the chaos. "So you're our guardian angel," he said, reloading his weapon. "Should have known it would take a Marine to keep us SEALs alive." The team's tactical cohesion was extraordinary. Without missing a beat, they incorporated into their assault formation as if she had been training with them for years. Directed her to provide close-range precision fire while the others laid down covering fire and advanced on the remaining militants. Marksmanship skills were just as impressive at close range as they had been from a distance. She systematically eliminated threats that the others couldn't engage safely, using her pistol with the same deadly accuracy that had made Ghost 6 legendary. The remaining militants found themselves caught between precision shooting and the SEAL team's overwhelming firepower. Within minutes, the compound was secure. The high-value target had been eliminated, and the intelligence materials had been recovered. But for the team, the mission's success was overshadowed by the revelation that had changed everything. As the team prepared for extraction, Master Chief approached. His weathered face was unreadable as he studied the woman who had saved their lives countless times. Stood at attention, unsure whether she was about to be commended or court-martialed for the deception. Extended his hand with a slight smile. "Staff Sergeant, I presume. I should have known that our best shooter would be a Marine." Shook his hand, relief flooding through her. "Master Chief, I know this situation is unusual." "Unusual?" Reaper interrupted, approaching with the rest of the team. "You've been watching our backs for 8 months. You've saved our lives more times than I can count. I don't care if you're a Marine, Navy, Air Force, or Space Force. You're our sniper." Tank clapped her on the shoulder with enough force to stagger her. "Plus, now we can finally buy Ghost 6 a beer when we get home. Been wanting to do that for months." The helicopter extraction brought more surprises for. As they flew back to base, the team members shared stories of missions where Ghost 6's intervention had saved them. They talked about the impossible shots she had made, the threats she had neutralized, and the comfort they had felt knowing she was watching over them. "That shot you made in Afghanistan," recalled Petty Officer Sam Dock, the team medic. "Taliban sniper had me dead to rights from 800 meters. Your bullet passed 6 inches from my head and took him out. I knew right then that whoever Ghost 6 was, they were special." Learned that the team had developed traditions around their mysterious guardian. They always left an empty chair at their post-mission briefings for Ghost 6. They had voted her an honorary member of their unit, even though they had never met her. Tank had even commissioned a custom challenge coin with Ghost 6's. When they returned to base, faced a different kind of challenge. The classified program that had kept her identity secret was being evaluated by Navy leadership. The mission's success had proven that embedded snipers could work effectively with SEAL teams, but questions remained about operational security and unit cohesion. Master Chief became strongest advocate. He submitted a detailed report recommending that she be permanently assigned to his team, with full transparency about her identity and role. He argued that trust between team members was built through shared combat experience, not through gender or branch of service. The team's reaction was unanimous and unwavering. They requested that be formally transferred to their unit as their designated marksman. They had operated with Ghost 6 for 8 months. They wanted to continue operating with for years to come. 3 weeks after the mission, stood in front of her new team wearing the Navy uniform she had been authorized to adopt for her transfer. The secret program had been terminated, but its success had paved the way for more integrated special operations units. Tank approached her with a wrapped package. "Got something for you." Inside was a custom name tape that read, "VASQEZ